עבדו את אדוני בשמחה, עבדו את אדוני בשמחה, או לפניו ברננה, לפניו ברננה. עבדו את אדוני בשמחה, עבדו את אדוני בשמחה, או לפניו ברננה, לפניו ברננה. ידדי 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 בשמחה, או לפניו ברננה, לפניו ברננה. עבדו את אדוני בשמחה, עבדו את אדוני בשמחה, או לפניו ברננה, לפניו ברננה. ידדי 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 Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol haneshama tehallelya, 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 hallelujah, hallelujah.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat
Thank
Shalom.
you to everybody who's here on our campus here in Los Angeles. And thank you to all of you who are joining us from all over the world. We are grateful that you've chosen to be part of our Stephen Wise Temple Shabbat community. It's the Shabbat immediately after Simchat Torah. And Cantor said, you know what? Let's keep the joy going. And I said, whatever you say. I think that's a great idea. And so Maestro Kate's put together an all-star band. We've got Ron and Mike and Larry with us, and we've got an all-star congregation, and we are here to celebrate the joy of community, and we are here to celebrate the joy of Torah. And one of the ways we elevate Torah and we magnify its importance in our lives is by taking these moments here on Simchat Torah and Shavuot later in the year to just say how grateful we are for the gift of learning and for the gift of a community that upholds the values of that Torah. So thank you all for being part of that. And one of the ways that we elevate Torah is by calling a young person to be a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. And Portia, we want to invite you and your mom to come up and light our Shabbat candles. We are on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, it turns out that's Portia's older sister. But in my defense, the masks make it sometimes hard. And I said, I have 3 daughters and I never get the right name. So Mazel Tov to the Umansky family. We are going to continue. This melody just fills me with joy. And the text, Shiru Ladonai, sing a new song to God, page 13. Page 20, L'chadoti, we welcome Shabbat as a bride and a groom, and it's a reminder to us that we should love Shabbat with a passion and make time every week for this gift of rest.
Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad yishmi'anu el ha'meyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet v'litila l'chadoti likrat kala Shabbat nekavela lechadoti likrat kala enei Shabbat nekavela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nechad ki mekor Shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'b'tzola toch emunei am sigur לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה.
Page 28, Baruch Hu, our call to worship. Now that you sat down, stand back up if you can. And we point ourselves towards Jerusalem, and we prepare ourselves for the evening service.
Arching across pages 34 and 35 are the beautiful Torah script style words of the Shema. Could our ancestors have imagined nearly 3,000 years ago when they wrote these words that we would be standing here in 2021 reciting them? But the magic of Torah is not only that the words are ancient, the magic of Torah is that we are here. That we read these words, we recite the Shema, and they call us to attention. They evoke a certain inspiration and spirituality in us, transcendent power of these words, words that have been preserved by our people for thousands of years, words that resonate as powerfully now as they did when they were first put to paper.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
You can be seated. There are only a few verses of Torah that find our way into our prayer book. The Mi Chamocha on page 40 is one of the most compelling. Again, a story told thousands of years ago finds its way into our hearts. We all resonate with the sitting down at the Passover Seder, telling the story. And as we bring new pieces into our Haggadah, as we find new Haggadot, as we bring new readings, as we bring in new customs, and as we take that story that we are told in the Torah, Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim, each event is a remembrance of the Exodus from Egypt, we know that core narrative, that narrative about how we came to be, slaves to freedom, freedom to the promised land, is essential to who we are as a people. We carry it with us, it inspires us, and most importantly, it makes us look to the future with a certain optimistic vantage point that we wouldn't have if that wasn't our story. Page 40.
Mi Chamocha vayrim Adonai, Mi Chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nor atilot osefele, osefele. Malechutecha ra'u fanecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe. Malechutecha ra'u fanecha, bokeyam lifnei Miriam. Zezeli anu ve'yomeru Adonai imlo leolam leolam pateh. Yala lai 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 yala lai 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 yala lai 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 yai lai lai yala lai 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 yala lai 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 yai la lai lai la lai lai. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. יאללה לי 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 יאללה לי 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 יאללה לי 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 יאי לי לי יאללה לי 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 יאללה לי 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 יאי לי 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 לי.
Our Amidah prayer in the evenings is traditionally recited silently, and it's an invitation for us to add our own words of prayer to the Siddur. Our Amidah begins on page 44, and you can just be inspired by the words of the prayer book, and you can add your own words of gratitude and praise, and also ask for the most meaningful things that we can imagine. And invite you all to please rise, and we'll take a few moments of silent prayer.
Whenever you're ready, you can have a seat. We're on page 62. Ihiu leratzon imrei fi vehegyon libi Adonai Tzuri V'go Ali Yehiyu L'ratzon Imrei Fi Lehegyon Libi Lefanecha Adonai Tzuri V'go Ali Adonai Tzuri V'go Ali May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrei fi V'hegyon libi lefanecha Adonai Tzuri V'go Ali Adonai Tzuri V'go Ali Adonai Tzuri V'go Ali.
In the Ark today, there are 2 Torah scrolls. Right, Cantor? Phew, I didn't look, so I was just making sure. One is at the beginning. Actually, I should say one is at the end, and the other is at the beginning. Simchat Torah, this holiday that we're recognizing tonight, doesn't appear in the Torah. So the Torah didn't tell us to celebrate the Torah. But the rabbi said, we need to do something. We need to recognize this book. We need to do something to tell the folks that when you finish it, it's not enough to finish it and put it in the Aron HaKodesh, close the doors and walk away. When you finish it, you have to start it the same instant. You have to go from the story of Moses to the story of creation, because that's what Judaism is all about. It's about that never-ending cycle from one life to the next, from one story to the next, from one land to the next. We keep it going. And so that's what they said. And so we end, and that's what they decreed, and for centuries that has been our reality. We end with the story of Moses. Moses, we are told, had that perfect balance of pride, of assertiveness, and astounding humility. And in fact, the Torah says he was among the most humble people of all time. That's the way the Torah praises him. Not he was the bravest, not he was the most powerful, not he was the most assertive, he was the most humble. And yet from that place of humility, a man with a speech impediment, the story we tell about him is that he led the people from slavery to freedom. So we end with the story of our narrative, the story of ourselves. We close the book, we pick up the new Torah, we open it up, we begin with the story of creation. From a story of ourselves, of uniqueness, of our unique story, our destiny, to the story of creation of the entire world. What is the text trying to say to us? Why do we go from our own story, again, on the same day to the story about this overwhelming look at the world? Well, the answer, I believe, in my interpretation, is that it's not enough to tell your own story. It's not enough to be so wrapped up in your own story where you talk about your great heroes and the story of your origins and the story of your history and all those things. You have to also look beyond your story and ask yourself, what good is my story if it doesn't compel me to reach out into the world and to act on behalf of others? What good is my story if the stories that I tell, the heroes that I lift up, the messages that I perceive in my story don't compel me to step out of my story into the world, into the broad world where all humanity can benefit from my actions? On the first day of creation, the story is that light is created. Now, I asked our 5th and 6th graders, how can you have light without a source? And they were a little baffled because planets and the sun were created on the 3rd day. So how can it be that we have to wait that long, but there's a light without a source? And it's the stuff of years of rabbinic sermons, of rabbinic divrei Torah, of rabbinic midrashim. And ultimately what it comes down to is that the creators of light are not necessarily the sources, the sun, the moon, the stars. It's us. That ultimately the radiance of light is in the reflection, what it's reflected off of. We don't see the light traveling from that bulb to me. You see it because it's reflected off of my face. We see light because it's reflected off of flowers and things and trees and all the things that are around us. Even the moon only can be seen because of the sun reflecting off of it. So that story about creation that says light was created first is a reminder that we are the ones who bring the light. The light shines off of us, off of our deeds, off of our actions, off of our sayings, off of our expressions, off of our love, off of our connections. Light without human action, light without human love, light without what makes us uniquely human wouldn't really be light in the sense of its fullness. So as we read these sources, as we call forward our young people to read, we'll take our Torah scrolls out, we'll do our little mini Torah service, we'll celebrate Torah together, and we'll recognize that we have our story, we have our destiny, and we're the light that shines into the world. We are on page 246. Please rise.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah u'devar Adonai miYerushalayim. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah u'devar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael. Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah u'devar Adonai miYerushalayim. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah u'devar Adonai miYerushalayim.
So I said earlier, you can all be seated. The only rule is keep your mask on. Otherwise, dancing allowed, singing allowed, studying Torah allowed. It's all permitted. So exciting that we get to read Torah, and we're going to invite our first Torah reader, Kalat HaTorah, Joanna Gott, and I know her as JoJo because when she started here in preschool, kindergarten, and now she's in 6th grade. Unbelievable. It's so great to see you, JoJo, and we are so grateful to you for chanting Torah for us. And we're going to say the blessing all together. And you can find the blessing in your prayer book on page 200 and something.
Who can find it?
Yeah, let's see who can find it fast.
Ron, you can hold this up for everyone.
Rabbi Stern.
Can you read this from here?
Yeah, everybody can read that from here. Okay, so on the count of 3, we're going to say the blessing, and then Joanna, JoJo, is going to chant the very last verses of the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, on the account of Achad, Shtaim, Shalosh. Baruchu et Adonai
HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai
Noten HaTorah.
Velo kam Navi od beYisrael kemoshe Asher yira'o Adonai panim el panim lehol ha'otot ve'hamavtim asher shelaha Adonai le'asot be'eretz Mitzrayim lefar'o lehol havadav u'lehol artzo u'lehol haya ha'hazaka u'lehol ha'morah ha'gadol asher asa Moshe le'einei kol Yisrael.
Yasher Koach.
Yasher Koach.
Jojo,
That was
beautiful.
amazing.
The
Wow,
blessing
wow.
for after the Torah, it's on page
Yes.
250, and we'll all sing it together. It was so perfect, Jojo.
Let me just do the English real quickly. So, because this is such a familiar series of lines here. And there never arose a prophet over Israel like Moses, who knew God panim el panim, face to face. And all of the signs and all of the wondrous things that God did, God sent Moses to do for the people, to the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh, and for all of and all of his servants and all of the land to the land of Egypt. Yeah, right. Okay, and that mighty hand, Yada Chazakah, that God stretched forth, and all the signs, the great signs that Moses brought on behalf of God, Le'enei kol Yisrael, in the eyes of all Israel. The last word of the Torah is Yisrael. There it is.
And whenever we finish a book of Torah, we say 3 words, chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek, strength, strength, may you be strengthened. So we'll say that together. Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek. And let's do the blessing after.
Baruch
atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Thank you again, Jojo, and for the honor of coming up and chanting the very first part of Parashat Bereshit, Chatan Bereshit. Ilan Zakai, please come up, Ilan. And Ilan, you're also in 6th grade? How did that happen? The time seemed to go quickly. Come up here, Ilan. Yeah, and you can take your mask off if you're comfortable doing so. And we're going to do an Aliyah again together on page 250. And I'll just say to everybody here on our campus and everybody joining from home, if you already joined us in chanting an Aliyah the first time, now that you're going to have a second Aliyah, maybe this one you'll do on behalf of someone else. So you can think of someone who's not here with us perhaps, and you can say the Aliyah for them. And then later you can call them up and you can say, hey, I had an Aliyah on your behalf, because that's how much you matter to me. So let's sing together. Achad, shtayim, shalosh. Baruch hu et Adonai hamborach. Baruch Adonai hamborach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Bereshit bara Elohim את השמיים ואת הארץ, והארץ הייתה תוהו ובוהו וחושך על פני תהום, ורוח אלוהים מרחפת על פני המים. ויאמר אלוהים יהי אור ויהי אור.
Good job. Excellent.
And now,
Beautiful accent.
Ron, tell us what it means. In the beginning, when God created.
I think I can do this one because
The
I've
heaven
read it
and the
once
earth.
before. So Bereshit is a strange word, and we're not really sure exactly what it means. It has to do with maybe first, and some people translate it as in the beginning. Some people say when God began to create. Once you translate from one language to another, you automatically lose some of the meaning. When God began to create, bara is the word only used for God. Bara Elohim, the heavens and the earth. And the earth was haita tohu vavohu. That's not tofu vavohu, it's tohu, which means empty and void. Never used that line before, huh? Right, yeah. And darkness was over the face of the earth, and a spirit of God was over the waters. Mirachefet was going back and forth over the waters. Al pnei hamayim, over the waters. Is that the last one you read?
No,
Okay. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. You got it.
Right.
Thank you. And now our after blessing, the bottom of page 250, Echad, Shtayim, Shalosh. Baruch ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch ata Adonai, noten haTorah. With the Torah scrolls before us, we're going to offer a blessing of healing. You can find it on page 253. You can think of someone that you love, someone that is close to you who is in need of healing. Think of yourself. You might need healing of the body or the spirit or the soul, but maybe it's a total stranger, someone halfway around the world. And you can just imagine what it would be like to be going through an illness alone. And you can perhaps help that person to feel a little bit less alone by thinking of others who are in need of our prayers of strength and healing.
Mi Shebeirach Avotenu Mekor Abraha Leivotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi Shebeirach imotenu Mekor Abraha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Please join me with the words on page 258 at the bottom, Prayer of the United States. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit, as we say, Amen.
Amen. Avinu Shabashamayim, Zu Yisrael v'govalo, Marechet Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu.
Together, O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. As we all say, Amen.
Amen. Avinu Shebashamayim, Zu Yisrael v'govalo. Amen. Salah. Amen. Salah. Please rise. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. And now we'll return the Torahs to our ark and begin our concluding prayers. עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה וצומחיה מאושר דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חודש חודש ימינו חודש ימינו כקדם. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
You can all be seated. Our prayer of memory, Kiddush Tom, is found on page 294. And I want to invite anybody who's in a period of Shiva or Shloshim, the first 7 or 30 days of mourning. If you're joining us online, feel free to put that person's name in the chat. If you're here with us this evening, you may rise now if you're in that period of mourning. If you're in the first year of mourning the loss of a loved one or friend, please rise. And if tonight marks the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the death of a loved one or friend, you can rise now. And if it's your custom to stand in solidarity with all of our mourners, please do so as we give thanks to God for the gift of life itself. Kiddush Tom 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, B'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chaye echon uvyom echon, uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, b'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who makes peace in the high places make peace for us here on earth, for us and all Israel and all humanity. Let us say amen. May all be seated. We're going to take a moment to celebrate the sweet things in our lives with Kiddush. You can find that on page 5. And earlier in the service, I had invited Portia to come up and light the candles, and she was ably assisted by one of her older sisters. But now it's your turn, Portia. So come on up, and you can bring all your sisters, bring your mom and dad up, and you can pour yourself some grape juice. But also, I've been looking up this website, National Day. It tells you what the day is every day of the year, October 1st. And if any of these things apply to you, then I'm going to ask you to stand up here on our campus. Today is World Smile Day. So if you like to smile, or if you like someone smiling at you, you can stand up. It's also National Manufacturing Day, one of my favorite holidays. This one's good. It's National Hair Day. Maurizio and I are rocking it. Thank you. It's also National Body Language Day. And some of you, the body language has been a little, I don't know, a little strange tonight. I'm going to have to talk to you after services. And finally, it's National Homemade Cookies Day. So if you like any of those things, smiling, homemade cookies, hair, stand up and let's join with Portia as we give thanks for the sweet things in our lives.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yava ratzon inchilanu, zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techilo Mikrai Kodesh, Zecher Letziot Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'charta, Yotanu kidashta, Mikol homim, V'shabbat kodshecha, Be'ahava u'v'ratzon, Inchaletzanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim.
L'chaim, everybody. We are going to end with a beautiful medley of Torah songs, and everybody here, just, you can hang out, you can dance, just do keep your masks on if you don't mind. I want to thank Cantor Emma for putting together this beautiful service, Maestro David Cates, we've got Mike, we've got Ron, we've got Larry. The band is back together, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Paula, and I want to thank Roz back there, and John, and Mark, and everybody for making this service possible on our crew. Let's dance a little to the Torah, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
Portia.